My name is Vesper Hale, 28 years old. The first thing that hits me is the light. The way it slides across the Madison Estate's marble foyer like it has its own invitation. The way it catches on chandelier crystals and fractures into 100 little judgments. By the time I cross the threshold, I can already hear my sister's voice, bright as polished cutlery. "There you are," Clare says, drawing the attention of two women in tennis whites. Her dress is winter white and severe. Her smile is what you use to sell a house you don't live in. "We've been waiting." I glance at the clock, 12:58. "Traffic," I say. "Bridge construction." "Of course." She drifts her eyes over my jeans, my city sneakers, the navy blouse I didn't bother to iron because my day was supposed to be regular. From behind her shoulder, my mother, Patricia, tilts her chin, Chanel wrapped around her like armor. "You wore that," Mom says, gentle as a guillotine. "Family lunch," I reply. No one said formal. "At the Madison Estate," Clare chirps. "Everything is formal." She gestures with two fingers toward the hostess stand as if dismissing a waiter. "Come on, Richard might swing by after golf to say hello before his firm's meeting." We're a moving tableau past oil portraits and heavy carpeting. Somewhere behind the bar, a shaker rattles like teeth. When we approach the hostess, the young woman looks up and blinks. "Good afternoon. Name?" "Thompson," Clare says, reflexively correcting a world she thinks adores her. "Window seating, for 3. The hostess scans the screen and brightens. "Ah, Ms. Hale, your table is ready." For a beat, the air thins. Mom smiles as if she misheard. Clare laughs softly, like wind through glass. The hostess doesn't notice. She leads us to a long pane of wall-to-wall windows, the golf course rolling away like money you can see. The waiter appears with water and calls me Ms. Hale too, the same careful respect you use for a person who signs something you can't afford to offend. Mom orders a Sancerre without looking at me. "Claire has news," she says, folding her napkin into a triangle so crisp you could cut with it. "Richard proposed," Clare says, already luminous. "The engagement party will be here, obviously." "Congratulations," I say. "That's wonderful." Mom nods, pleased. "We'll keep it intimate. 60, maybe 70. All the right people." "Of course." The waiter hovers. Claire orders the lobster, Mom the Dover sole, and I ask for chicken salad. It's a reflex, my father's favorite whenever he pretended he liked this place. He used to tap the rim of his glass twice before he spoke, a small ceremony for an ordinary thing. Claire launches into seating charts and florals. "White roses, gold accents, taper candles and hurricanes," she recites. "I'll need the head table near the bay windows. Richard's mother insists on natural light." "Lovely," I say. "Are you inviting Uncle James and Aunt Patricia?" Claire tilts her head. "We'll be selective. The club has standards," Mom interjects, not looking up from her phone. "We can't just invite anyone." "Right," I say, and take a sip of water that tastes like the inside of a glacier. It would be funny if it weren't so ordinary. I've learned to recognize the choreography, a compliment that isn't, a question that's an accusation, a pause that expects you to flinch. "About the guest list," Claire says, painting concern onto her voice. "With Richard's partners and their clients, we might not have space for everyone we want to include." "Say it," I say gently. She blinks. "What?" "Say you don't want me to come." "It's not that," Mom says, pressing her napkin with the heel of her hand. "This is an important event. We must present the right image." "The right image doesn't wear jeans," Claire adds, gesturing at me with an apologetic shrug. "It's not personal." "It's personal," I say, "but okay." For a moment, they look relieved, like a storm they thought would ruin the day broke somewhere else. The food arrives. The lobster is the same orange as a fire alarm. My chicken salad is exactly what it always is. Green, quiet, compromised. I spear a grape and listen to them inventory the season. People I once knew as neighbors, now flattened into last names. I think about the way Dad used to hold his fork, halfway up the handle like a carpenter. The way he kept a tin of mints in his pocket and shared one with me, as if it were illicit candy. He would have hated this table, tolerated it for my mother, and winked at me when no one was looking. I promised him once I would try, and trying sometimes means sitting still until the urge to flee becomes a memory. Claire's phone buzzes. She peels a little laugh. "The Hendersons can make it," she says to Mom, "and the Vanderbilts." "Perfect," Mom replies, a word she's never applied to me. They keep talking. I keep eating. It is almost peaceful, a tide at slack, when the first ripple arrives. The couple at the next table are glancing awkwardly in our direction. Mom follows their gaze to my sneakers, then inhales with quiet precision. "Vesper," she says, "do you realize how out of place you look?" "I look like myself." "You look like staff," Claire says, too quickly, then winces. "I don't mean—" "You did," I say. "It's fine." "It is not fine," Mom answers. "At a place like this, appearances matter." I could say, "You built your life around appearances, so you don't have to feel anything that can't be curated." I could say, "There's a different kind of fine, and you haven't met it." I don't. I fold my napkin and smooth the linen. "I'm happy for you," I tell Claire. "I wish you joy." And for a heartbeat, she looks human, not luminous. She looks like the girl who used to share a bedroom and draw braids into my hair before school, then hand me the brush, like a secret. We finish. Dessert is offered. I decline. Mom pays with a flourish like a bow. As we rise, Claire spots someone over my shoulder. "Melissa," she whispers, delighted, and glides away on a cloud of expectations. Mom turns to me in the hush that follows. It's just the two of us, the faint hiss of air conditioning, the world beyond the windows like a green stage. "We're not cruel," she says. "We are careful." "I know," I say. "We want what's best." "For whom?" I ask, and she flinches just once. Claire returns, pink with gossip. "She's on the invite list," she reports. "Her husband made partner. Richard will be thrilled." She laughs, then stops when she finally sees the set of my mouth. Something in her tightens. "You're not angry, are you?" "I'm efficient," I say, and then we're walking back toward the foyer, shoes whispering against carpet, past the brassy smell of polished rails and the distant clack of ice. The entrance is a small theater of arrivals and exits. Members drift through, each wearing a variation of the same face. Claire reaches for my arm. "Wait!" Her voice slides up half an octave. "Maybe use the side door?" "The what?" "The service entrance," she says, as if the words cost less when you say them quickly. "Just for today. People might misunderstand. And Melissa, there's a lot riding on optics, and Richard's mother." "No," I say. "Please," Mom adds. "Don't make a scene." "I'm leaving through the front." "Any other member would understand decorum," Mom says. Crisp again. Any other member would know where she belongs. There is a security guard near the door, plain-faced and 50-something, with a posture that apologizes for existing. Claire lifts her hand like it weighs nothing. "Excuse me," she says, all sugar. "Could you escort this person out? She's not dressed appropriately." The guard looks from her to me and back again, uncertainty wobbling across his features. "Ma'am, She's not a member," Claire says, louder. Heads turn. A small circle of interest gathers. The way people gather around a street performer they hope won't ask for money. We have standards. The guard's mouth tightens. The hostess appears behind him, eyes widening by degrees as she recognizes me. "Ms. Hale," she starts, but before she can finish, a calm voice cleaves the room. What seems to be the problem? The man who steps forward is distinguished in the way a good suit wants to be. David Morrison, the club's director, silver at the temples, presence forged from years of brokering impossible egos. He takes us in, one by one, like he's reading a play he already knows the ending to. "Mr. Morrison," Claire says, relief flashing. "Thank goodness. This person," she gestures at me, with the same hand that just waved away a waiter, "is causing a disturbance." David's gaze rests on me. There's recognition there, and, beneath it, a flicker of something else. He turns to Claire with impeccable patience. "And you are?" "And Claire Thompson," she says, gesturing to Mom. "This is my mother, Patricia. Members." He inclines his head. "I'm aware of your family." Then to me, with a formality that rearranges the air, "Ms. Hale." Silence unfurls like a ribbon down the staircase. Somewhere behind us, glass taps glass. Somewhere beyond that, waves worry the shoreline. No one is watching. David folds his hands. "Shall we revoke their memberships?" A slow exhale swept through the foyer, like the building itself had taken a breath and wasn't sure what to do with it. Mom blinked, her mouth parting. "I beg your pardon?" David's tone didn't shift. "Mrs. Patricia Thompson and Ms. Clare Thompson, shall we revoke their memberships?" Claire's face twisted in confusion. "What are you talking about? We've been members here for years. My father—" David lifted a hand, calm and practiced. Yes, your father, Mr. Henry Thompson, was a member in good standing. However, upon his passing 5 years ago, the primary membership and associated privileges were transferred according to the will. He glanced down at the tablet in his hand, scrolling once. The designated heir is Ms. Vesper Hale. The sound of my name felt heavier now, formal and final. Mom took a step forward, the color draining from her face. That's absurd. We've paid our dues every quarter. We've attended events. You've used the membership privileges, David corrected gently. But the dues, events, and charges have been billed directly to the primary account under Ms. Hale. Whispers rustled through the watching crowd. Someone coughed. Someone else took out their phone. Claire shook her head, eyes darting between him and me. That can't be right. She doesn't even live in Connecticut anymore. She has some little apartment in the city. How could she possibly? David turned the screen toward them. The Madison Estate Country Club is currently owned by Thompson Holdings, LLC. The company purchased the club and adjoining properties 3 years ago. Ms. Hale is the sole owner and principal of that corporation. The marble floor might as well have cracked open. Mom's fingers trembled against her pearls. You own this place? I met her eyes. Yes. But how? When? Claire stammered. You're a data analyst. You drive a Civic, for God's sake. It's a Honda, I said quietly, and it still runs fine. For a second, the absurdity of it all tugged at my mouth. Then the weight of years pressed back down, grounding me. I remembered the night my father's attorney handed me the sealed envelope. His letter had been short. For the daughter who never needed permission to be extraordinary. That was the only inheritance note he'd left. Not a lecture, not a condition, just trust. I started my own firm 6 years ago, I said now, voice steady. We handle data modeling for investment funds. It grew faster than I expected. I bought the club as a long-term asset. Dad always liked it here. Claire's eyes were glassy, mascara beginning to pool at the edges. You've been paying for everything? All this time? Every dinner, every event, every round of golf, 5 years, I said. Why didn't you tell us? Mom demanded, voice cracking between outrage and disbelief. Because when I did try, you laughed. That silenced her. I remembered the night of my company's launch party, how I'd invited them. Mom had said she was busy with a charity gala. Claire had promised to drop by and never did. When I mentioned buying property in Connecticut, they'd joked about my starter condo. When Dad died and left me the membership, they'd called it a pity gesture. Now they were standing on a floor I owned, arguing about who belonged. David cleared his throat softly. Ms. Hale, do you wish to make any changes to their membership status? Every gaze in the foyer swung toward me. I could have ended it right there. Revoked their names from the guest list, canceled their privileges, watched their faces collapse beneath the weight of consequence. But that would have been too easy. I took a breath that tasted faintly of chlorine and champagne. Their memberships continue, I said. For now, as sponsored members, they'll have full access to the facilities but no authority over club policy or guest approvals. David nodded once. Understood. I'll update the records immediately. Claire reached for me. Vesper, please. I didn't mean... You told a guard to throw me out, Claire. Her hand faltered midair. I was trying to protect us. You were dressed like a person, I said. You wanted to be protected from me. She started crying then, soft, shuddering breaths that barely sounded real. Mom turned toward me, her voice breaking. You've humiliated us. No, I said. You did that yourselves. For the first time, she looked small. No pearls, no posture, just a woman caught in a story she didn't write. The crowd was still there, watching, pretending not to. Some looked entertained, others embarrassed. Only David met my eyes with a faint nod of respect. Ms. Hale, he said, would you like to stay for your usual reservation in the East Lounge? Not today, I replied, but please put their lunch on my account. I turned to go. My sneakers squeaked against the marble again, same as when I'd arrived, only now every sound echoed. Vesper, wait! Claire's voice cracked behind me. Please, you'll come to the engagement party, right? I'll fix this, I swear. I looked over my shoulder. Her mascara had bled into streaks. Mom was staring at the floor. If you want me there as your sister, I said, send an invitation. If you just need me as decoration, don't bother. And then I walked out through the main entrance, the one they said wasn't mine to use. Outside, the sun was merciless, the air thick with the smell of salt and clipped grass. My phone buzzed before I even reached my car, a message from David. Your office sent over the quarterly report. Membership renewals up 15%. The tennis court renovations were a success. Well done, Ms. Hale. I smiled, faint but real. The wind tugged at my blouse, at the edges of everything I used to be. I'd bought this club 3 years ago as a quiet gift to myself, a monument to freedom. What I hadn't realized until now was that the real victory wasn't ownership. It was finally walking out the front door without asking anyone's permission. Behind me, the estate shimmered in the heat. Still beautiful, still gilded, still mine. And for once, that was enough. The story didn't end that day in the marble foyer. It only began to shift, quietly beneath the surface like pressure building under glass. By the next morning, my phone was a war zone of notifications. Headlines in the Connecticut Society Journal read, "Socialite Sisters Embroiled in Country Club Scandal." Someone had filmed the confrontation. Claire's trembling voice, my calm replies. David Morrison's clipped professionalism. It was all online, replayed in slow motion with captions like a courtroom transcript. Richard, of course, didn't waste time. He was a lawyer. He knew spin when he saw it. "You have to fix this," he told Clare in a recorded voicemail that somehow reached me through a mutual acquaintance. "Our firm can't afford bad optics. Make her say it's fake. Make her apologize." She didn't call me, but Mom did. 3 times. The 4th time, she left a message. "Vesper, please. Whatever this is, we can talk. I didn't raise you to be cruel." I played it twice before deleting it. That night, I stayed late at my office. My company's headquarters sat on the 12th floor of a building downtown, glass and concrete overlooking the East River. Rows of monitors displayed financial models and streams of blue light. My team had gone home hours ago, but I stayed, always stayed, because silence still made me uneasy. My assistant, Jordan, stuck his head in. "You saw it? The video?" He nodded. "Half the internet did. People are calling you the Quiet Storm heiress." He tried to smile. "Kinda badass, if you ask me." "Until the next storm," I said. Jordan hesitated. "David called, said your mother requested a meeting. Private, tomorrow at noon." I leaned back. "At the club?" He nodded again. "Of course. Where else would she feel powerful?" "Confirm it," I said, "and make sure David's present." The next day, the estate looked the same, impossibly polished, perfectly indifferent. But the staff greeted me differently now, eyes softer, voices respectful. One even opened the car door before I'd turned off the engine. Inside, Mom sat in the lounge, back straight, pearl earrings glinting under afternoon light. She'd ordered tea. No sugar, no lemon, just control. "Thank you for coming," she said. "You requested it." A flicker crossed her face. "This isn't how things were supposed to be." "No," I said, sitting across from her. "You were supposed to control the story." Her lips pressed together. "The video is everywhere. Do you know what that means for us?" "For you," I corrected. "Fine. For me, for Claire, for our name." Richard's firm is threatening to pull their sponsorship from the charity gala. The board at the Women's Club is calling emergency meetings. People are asking questions, Vesper. "They should," I said evenly. Her eyes sharpened. "You think this is a game? That humiliating us proves something?" "It proves nothing," I said softly, "but it reveals everything." David entered then, carrying a folder. He gave me a polite nod. "Ms. Hale, Mrs. Thompson." Mom turned toward him, relief flooding her expression. "David, you can tell her. Surely you understand how damaging this all is. If she would just issue a clarification, say there was a misunderstanding." David remained neutral. "I'm afraid the records are clear, Mrs. Thompson. The membership and property rights are fully in Ms. Hale's name." Mom's voice wavered. "There must be something we can do." "There is," I said. "You can stop pretending you didn't know who I was." That silenced her again. For the first time, her hands trembled slightly on the porcelain cup. David placed the folder on the table. "If I may, Ms. Hale, you requested that I bring the documents your father left regarding the estate holdings." I nodded. "Thank you, David." He excused himself, leaving us with the quiet hum of the air conditioner. I opened the folder, the paper heavy and familiar. Dad's will wasn't just about ownership. He left instructions, personal ones, about how this family should move forward. Mom's eyes darted to the pages. What kind of instructions?" "Guidelines," I said. He knew things might unravel. He said, "Protect them if you can, but not from the truth." She flinched just slightly. I looked at her. "Do you remember his last dinner here, the night before he got sick?" Her gaze dropped. "Of course." "He told you not to judge people by what they wear," I said quietly. "You laughed and said, 'Henry, you can't change the world.' He told me afterward, 'Maybe not, but we can change one dinner table at a time.'" For a moment, something raw cracked through her composure. "You think you're better than us now?" she whispered. No, I said. I just stopped needing your permission to exist. Her eyes glistened. I never wanted this divide. You built it, I replied, brick by brick. Every insult disguised as advice, every comparison, every time you made me small to make Clare shine. She covered her face with her hand, the diamonds trembling against her skin. I didn't know how else to love you. I believed her. That was the tragedy of it. She had spent her whole life chasing a kind of love that looked like validation, and she'd offered me the same hollow version. That evening, I drove to my father's old property outside the city. The house had been empty for years. White shutters, ivy creeping along the stone, a place frozen mid-breath. Inside, I found the study exactly as he'd left it. His fountain pen, the globe with a faint crack through Europe, the photo of me at 16, braces and messy hair, holding a camera I'd begged for. I sat behind his desk and unfolded the letter he'd tucked inside the will, one I hadn't reread since the day he died. Vesper, it began, you've always been the quiet one, but not the weak one. If this club ever becomes more prison than privilege, remember, it was never meant to own you. It was meant to remind you that you belong anywhere you choose to stand. Outside, the night wind pressed against the windows, a soft percussion. I closed the letter, breathing through the ache of it. Tomorrow there would be calls. Richard, Clare, journalists smelling blood. There would be choices, whether to forgive, whether to fight, whether to let the past rot or replant it. But for now, there was only the sound of leaves against glass and the quiet truth that, for the first time in my life, I wasn't performing for anyone. I was exactly where I belonged. The scandal didn't fade, it evolved. Within a week, my name was circulating through every glossy circle in Connecticut. Business journals praised me for discretion and composure. Lifestyle blogs called me the silent billionaire next door. Meanwhile, society gossip framed me as the daughter who dethroned her family. Each headline made Mom shrink further into herself, and Clare's engagement unraveled by the day. Richard's mother, pristine and venomous, sent her a single text that leaked online. We don't marry into scandal. By Friday, Clare's ring was back in its velvet box. David Morrison sent me updates daily, membership renewals, PR strategies, statements approved by our legal team. But under the surface, I could sense the ripple of resentment. Wealthy people didn't like reminders that power could shift hands quietly. And then came the text that changed everything. It was from David, late Sunday night. Ms. Hale, there's something you should see. Come to the club office in the morning. Discretion advised. When I arrived, he had a folder waiting on the desk. These are from our internal servers, he said. Anonymous emails sent to local reporters about your company, accusing you of fraud, money laundering, nonsense, but damaging if printed. I scanned the pages. They included screenshots of legitimate financial charts, twisted out of context to look suspicious. Where did these come from? We traced the IP to a private law office, Whitmore and Associates, Richard's firm. For a moment, everything inside me went cold. David watched carefully. There's more. They also sent a proposal draft, rezoning plans for the land adjacent to the estate, your property. It's clear they expected your mother and sister to lobby for approval. So that was it. The whole image game, the social ranking, the dinners, it all served a business motive. Richard had been counting on my family's access to secure development rights worth millions. And when the truth about ownership came out, they'd tried to ruin me instead. I leaned back, breathing slow. File the emails for our legal team, quietly. David nodded. Of course. As I stood, he hesitated. Ms. Hale, you've handled this with grace, but you don't owe them forgiveness. I looked at him, then out the window where the morning light rippled over the golf course. I know, I said, but maybe forgiveness isn't for them. That afternoon, I drove to Mom's house, an elegant colonial she couldn't afford without the illusion of wealth I'd been subsidizing. The blinds were drawn even though it was barely past noon. She answered the door looking 10 years older. Vesper. We need to talk, I said. Her eyes flicked past me, searching for a threat. Claire's upstairs. She hasn't been out since everything. I'm not here to punish anyone, I said, but you need to hear the truth. Inside, the air smelled of old perfume and new fear. I sat at the kitchen table where I'd once done homework while Mom graded me on posture and vocabulary. I placed the folder between us. Richard used you, both of you. She frowned. What? The club, the engagement, the appearances, it was all leverage for a land deal. When it fell apart, he tried to destroy my company. She covered her mouth. That can't be true. It is, and you handed him the ammunition. Her fingers trembled. I didn't know. You didn't ask. For a moment, she said nothing. Then, quietly, do you think I wanted to hurt you? No, I said. I think you were scared. Scared of losing the world Dad fought to enter. Scared of what people would think if they saw the cracks. Her shoulders shook once, almost imperceptibly. I built everything around how it looked because I didn't know how to hold anything real. That was the closest she'd ever come to an apology. Mom, I said softly, you can't keep living in borrowed mirrors. They'll shatter eventually. Tears gathered in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. What do you want me to do? Be honest, I said. With me, with yourself, with Claire. She nodded slowly, like the motion itself hurt. Later that evening, Claire appeared at my apartment in the city. She looked exhausted. No makeup, hoodie pulled over her hair, the ring gone. I had nowhere else to go, she said. Mom's avoiding everyone. The press won't stop calling. Come in. She stepped inside and glanced around. This is your place. It's normal. Why wouldn't it be? I don't know, she said, a bitter laugh escaping. I expected marble floors, staff, gold. I already have one building full of marble, I said. It's overrated. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she looked up, eyes red. I'm sorry, Vess. I didn't answer immediately. I poured us both tea instead. The silence stretched, steady and clean. She continued, when you didn't show off, I thought it was because you had nothing. I didn't understand you were choosing not to. I watched the steam rise from her cup. You measured worth by reflection, not substance. She nodded, and I made myself a reflection of Richard. He liked me most when I made other people feel smaller, when I made you feel smaller. Her voice broke. I hate who I was. Then don't be her anymore, I said. She looked at me, desperate. Can we ever fix it? I don't know, I admitted, but we can start by not pretending. We sat in silence, two sisters in the wreckage of what used to be hierarchy, now just humans trying to speak the same language again. A week later, I stood once more in the foyer of the Madison Estate, this time beneath banners reading Tennis Charity Gala, hosted by Hale Foundation. The same space that once held my humiliation now shimmered with a different kind of light. Members approached me, not out of gossip, but gratitude. Donations poured in for children's education programs. The air felt lighter. From the balcony above, I spotted Mom and Claire entering together, tentative, careful, but there. Patricia's pearls were smaller this time, less like armor. Claire's dress was modest, unbranded. They looked human. David approached. Everything's running smoothly, he said. Then, quieter, your father would be proud. I smiled. He'd have told me to get out of my own way. As the string quartet began to play, Claire approached me. You really turned this place around. I didn't, I said. I just reminded people what belonging looks like. She hesitated. I read Dad's letter, the one you found. I raised an eyebrow. He left me one too, she said softly. It said, when you mistake image for worth, you'll starve surrounded by feasts. My chest tightened. He knew us too well. We stood side by side watching guests dance under chandeliers. The night felt suspended, like forgiveness might actually fit here if you handled it gently enough. Mom joined us a moment later. Vesper, she said, voice unsteady, thank you for letting us be here. I met her gaze. It's your home too, as long as you remember whose foundation it stands on. She nodded, understanding the double meaning. And for once, there was no tension left, only the fragile quiet of beginnings. I lifted my glass. To Dad, I said. Claire and Mom echoed, to Dad. The chandeliers flickered, scattering light across our faces. Somewhere beyond the glass, the sea murmured its applause. And for the first time in my life, standing in the heart of everything they once said I didn't belong to, I knew that I did. Not because of what I owned, but because I finally stopped needing permission to stay. 2 months passed. The club thrived like it hadn't in years. The gossip cooled, replaced by admiration. Quiet, begrudging, but real. Under the Hale Foundation, membership diversified. New faces appeared, artists, teachers, small business owners, people who valued what the place was, not what it proved. And yet, something in me stayed alert, waiting for the next fracture. Success had never felt like peace. It always felt like holding glass too tightly. Then one morning, David called. Ms. Hale, I think you should come by, he said carefully. It's about your father. My heart stilled. What about him? There's another document, an addendum recently uncovered during an audit of his estate files. The study smelled of cedar and dust when I arrived. David had the file spread across the desk like a confession. It was sealed under an old account, he explained. Your father arranged for it to be released only if certain terms were met. specifically after the estate completed 2 full fiscal years under your control. He pushed forward a single envelope, my name on it, Vesper. I opened it slowly. Inside was a single sheet, written in my father's familiar looping script. If you're reading this, the club is yours in more than name. You've proved patience and restraint, qualities I didn't always possess. But remember this, family is not a liability you cut away. It's a truth you manage with courage. Keep the door open, but never the floor beneath it. Below the signature, a line written later, almost like a whisper. Forgive her when she finally asks. I sat there for a long time, staring at that sentence. When she finally asks. That night I received a message from Mom. Dinner tomorrow? Just us. I hesitated before replying, then typed, yes. The next evening, her home felt smaller. Not poorer, just stripped of pretense. The portraits were gone. The glittering silverware replaced with simple porcelain. The chandelier bulbs had been dimmed to something almost gentle. She was waiting at the table wearing no pearls, just a cardigan. For the first time, she looked like a woman, not an institution. I made your father's stew, she said. It's been years since I cooked. I smiled faintly. You hated cooking. I hated being ordinary, she corrected. Turns out, ordinary feels peaceful. We ate mostly in silence, but not the heavy kind. The quiet had space in it now. Halfway through dinner, she set down her spoon. Vesper, she began, I read something in your father's old files. He wrote me a letter, too. I froze. She nodded. He said, you married me for the world I promised you. Love our daughter, for the world she'll build herself. Her voice shook. I didn't. I tried to make you fit the one I understood. That's what you were taught, I said softly. Survival dressed as success. She reached across the table, tentative, fragile. I'm sorry. It wasn't grand, it wasn't cinematic, but it was real. And suddenly, that last line in my father's note, forgive her when she finally asks, felt like a command fulfilled. I took her hand. I already did. Weeks later, the club hosted its first community scholarship event. Clare ran the logistics, nervous but capable. Mom greeted guests, not as a patron, but as a volunteer. The Hale Foundation had launched 3 scholarships for local youth pursuing business and arts degrees. The first recipient, a shy 17-year-old named Ellie, gave a short speech. This place used to feel untouchable. Now it feels possible. Applause filled the hall. I felt my throat tighten. As guests mingled, David approached, smiling. You've changed the estate, Ms. Hale. It finally has a heartbeat again. Not me, I said. Just the people who decided to stop guarding the door. He tilted his head. Including yourself? I paused. Especially myself. Across the room, Claire was laughing with Ellie, helping her adjust the microphone. Mom was setting plates with the catering team, sleeves rolled up. No pretense, no armor. I realized then that redemption wasn't loud. It was steady. It was a door left open just long enough for someone to walk through. As the evening wound down, I stepped outside. The coastline shimmered under moonlight, the same sea my father used to stare at from the veranda. I thought of everything that had happened, humiliation, revelation, silence, forgiveness, and how all of it led here, to balance. The wind moved through the trees, carrying faint laughter from the ballroom behind me. Dad's voice echoed softly in memory. Belonging isn't given, Vess. It's practiced. I closed my eyes and smiled. I wasn't the daughter they'd imagined, or the woman society expected. I was simply the one who stayed standing, on my own foundation, on my own terms. And finally, after all the noise and glass and ghosts, that was enough.